Hello everyone, this is Anthony with Liquid Budget, and today I'm going to talk about my favorite feature, which is projections. So I have a sample budget set up here. It's currently the middle of July. We have some discretionary buckets, our fixed monthly bills, some future scheduled expenses, and our savings buckets. So let's move over to the projections tab. And at first, this looks like an income expense report, but the difference is that in an income versus expense report, we're typically dealing with our inflow and outflow transactions. But with projections, we're working on inflow events and our assignments to our individual buckets. So that distinction is very important to help us project out values. But this report is very helpful. You could use it to project what your available savings will be months or even years into the future. You can see how your liquid net worth is trending. And it's a very helpful tool, but don't take my word for it. Let's set it up and see for ourselves. So initially, as everything's flatlined, we need to set up both our income and our expense projections. And the way our income projections work is through either recurring transactions or future transactions. So what I could do is jump into my checking account here, find one of my paycheck transactions, and convert it into a recurring series. So say I get paid every 2 weeks. If you get paid twice a month, you could change this to 2 transactions, one for each day. By the way, you can set this up even if you do have bank imports that hopefully just will reconcile at the end. So once we set that up, we have 2 upcoming transactions for the rest of this month. And if we go into our projections tab now, we can see the inflow is captured for that, as well as those special bonus months where we have 3 paychecks in one. You could also use one-off events. So let's say we know we have an inflow coming in from some sort of bonus or a tax refund or a sale. If it's, say, out in the middle of October, this money may not be available to us now, but on the projections tab, that inflow event is captured and we see a nice inflow bump in October. So now the next thing to do is set up our expenses, and they're a little different because each bucket may have a different strategy associated with it. So let's jump into the expense projections form here. And what we could do is set up a strategy on a category level or an individual bucket level on how to project these values. So we could use our auto assignment values, upcoming transactions, just like we did for inflow, or a 3, 6, 12-month average. With variable things like discretionary, I like a short-term average to see how things are trending. And if we save that, we see our expenses are now trended out in our discretionary section here. And that's very similar to our previous data in this sample budget. But for things like monthly bills, scheduled expenses, we can make use of our auto assignments, which are very powerful. So if I jump into my budget and say check on the rent mortgage, I have set up here a $2,500 assignment default amount every month. Or if I look at my car insurance, I have an outflow event in November for this bill, which is coming up. It's $500, and I'm saving for that in $83 chunks every month. So using that information, we could set our projections to rely on these. I'm going to change the monthly and scheduled to auto assignments. And now we're very close to seeing how our entire budget will trend out. So these are the fixed assignments and the scheduled events. And you see the value of using our assigned amounts instead of outflow events is that it doesn't really matter when this outflow event happens sometime in November. We're putting money away from it now and every month, and it almost doesn't really matter when the outflow is because even when it happens, we're going to be saving again for the next year. So this gets us very accurate in terms of the money that is free for us to use for savings and money that's designated for another purpose. And by the way, you can mix and match these things for something variable like our electricity. Even though it has a fixed auto assign amount, we might want to change that to an average to get a little bit more accuracy in the future. I'll choose a 12-month average for that. Now we can see this value is averaged out instead of whatever our auto assignment value is. But auto assignments are very powerful. If you look at our Netflix subscription, which went up from 22 to 25 here in April, we know that amount is not going down anytime soon. So an auto assignment amount would be a better projection here than an average would. Finally, for savings, it's a little tricky because savings buckets are typically not considered outflow events when we assign money to them. It's money that's being stored for savings. So what we could do is set up a special type, which is excluded from the projections. So for savings categories, what that did is take away all the assignments as outflow events and instead accumulate that money that we would have assigned here into this available savings row. So we can see down here at the end of July, we're projected to have $12,000 in our savings accounts. If we look at our budget, we are halfway there with $6,000. And the reason for the difference is that $6,000 worth of our income paychecks haven't actually hit our budget yet. So the projections are dealing with money that will happen at the end of the month, not necessarily money you have right now. But of course, there are savings buckets that you might not want to project out like this. You might want to not consider them available savings, for example. So an emergency fund is something that might be considered off limits. So let's change that one. Just do a value of no projections. And what this will do is it'll still capture the outflow when we assign this money to our emergency fund and remove it from the available savings. So now our projected savings will be $9,000. And this is very helpful because we could look towards the end of the year and see how much money we'll have saved up. Then this is money that is truly saved, has no purpose, and we can use this information to plan out an upcoming expense, a vacation, a down payment. I mean, you could even project months or years out in the future, up to 5 years so far, which is very helpful for planning things like down payments or just to see the financial trajectory if you stick to your budget. So, very powerful tool. I encourage you all to give it a try, and thanks for watching.